Hi, my name is Sophie, and today we're going to talk to you about our MATLAB app, Greedy Pig. Greedy Pig is a dice game, and the point of the game is to get to 100 points before your opponent. Our version of the game is going to have two players. Basically, you're going to go ahead and click the Roll Pigs button, and you're going to roll the dice. As far as scoring is concerned, each pig corresponds to a different number on a standard die, 1 through 6. But the values are different. So 1 and 2 are 0, 3 and 4 are 5, 5 is 10, and 6 is 15. So you can gain points by rolling the dice. If you get a double of 3 through 6, then you get double points. So for example, if you get 2 3s, you're going to get 10 points normally, but you're going to get 20 points because it's double. But if you roll a 1 or a 2 or a 2 or a 1, you're actually going to lose all of the points from that turn, and it's the next player's turn. However, if you roll 2 1s or 2 2s, you're actually going to lose all of your points for the entire game. So let's quickly go over the actual game board. So we have our title, Greedy Pig. We have instructions in case somebody wants to read those. You can toggle it off if you think it ruins the view of our beautiful background. We also have a list here of the different numbers for the pigs in case someone wants to follow along with the adding of their score and the turn score. In the middle left here, we have the area where the 2 pigs will show up after you've clicked the Roll Pigs button. We also have the roll score, which is a field that will show you how many points your roll gave you, and then the turn score that will tell you what your total rolls add up to at this point in your turn. We have the player 1 and player 2 stash buttons. So after your turn, whether you decide to end your turn or if the turn is ended for you by getting the rolls where your turn value goes to 0, you have to go ahead and click that button. And once you click that button, the score will be added to your player score, whether you're player 1 or player 2. It'll add that in the table right below. All right, so what actually happens when you press the Roll Pigs button? We're going to have a Randy operator that will roll a 1 through a 6 on 2 dice, since we're using a left and a right dice. And then that is going to be used 2 different ways. The first way is you need to know which dice actually got rolled. So we have a switch case for the left and the right die, basically saying, depending on what Randy rolled, we're going to change the dice picture. So here, case 1 shows the picture for 1, etc. So it's going to do that for both of them. And then we're going to do a little animation, and we're going to end up at the correct value. And that's just so the user can see what they've rolled. We're also going to use those Randy values to decide what the actual score is. So we're going to have roll number 1, the left roll, going to set it to a value that's in our properties. So if we roll a 1, it's going to be set to a 0. If we roll a 6, it's going to be set to a 15. And that's for both dice. We do have a couple special cases, if you remember. So if we roll a 1 and a 2 or a 2 and a 1, the turn is going to be over and you're going to have 0 points for that turn. If you roll 2 1s or 2 2s, we have it so that the roll value is set to 0 and the turn value is set to 0, and actually your table value is set to 0, so your total score. And we're going to have a boing noise play when something bad happens. If neither of those happen, of those cases, if you just roll doubles, 3s, 4s, 5s, or 6s, you're going to get your double points. So those are all written into this if-else statement. And then if none of those apply, if you just have 2 random different numbers, we're just going to add the roll value 1 and the roll value 2 for the roll value. So we're going to use roll value in a couple different ways. First of all, we're going to display it in the edit field that we have for roll value. We're also going to use it to add to the counter for calculating the turn value. And then that score is going to be shown in the turn value field as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Summer. To make the backdrop, I enlarged an image box over the entire GUI and then picked my image directly and placed it into that image directly in the GUI. So every time you run the app, it pops up automatically. For the instruction boxes, once you click run the app, the instructions don't appear. You have to click the button, the instruction box appears, and then this little image to show you how the dice numbers correspond with the pig pictures. You can click it again and it goes away. I put a counter in my properties right here, and then I made the images originally off. So you can't see the text area, the text label, or the image. If you go down to the instructions button, if you don't click it, it's a case 1. In this switch case, everything is off. If you click it for the first time, it's a case 0, or the counter is 0, going through this case, and it turns the text area and the image on. It makes the counter 1 again, so when you click it, it turns off because it goes through this case. And then I also did the turn score, and the turn score is basically just, I took the edit field and I made it equal to the roll value plus the turn counter, and the turn counter is just the previous score. That's how you do the turn score, so that adds up every roll score in your turn. And I also did the winner image. I did basically the same thing. I dragged an image over the whole GUI last, and then I hit it right here. So each player has a stash button. So if the player clicks the stash button and their total score is equal to 100 or more, it'll go through this if statement where it'll play this applause audio, and then it'll make the image visibility on, and it'll display this winner farm. I went through a similar audio format to play the audio for all the different buttons and whatnot. So there's a stash audio that corresponds to each stash button. So when you click it, it'll run through these lines of code. It'll go through a for statement to play it and then pause it at the time that I want it to. And I did that for the applause and the stash button. And there's also a boing noise when you roll a 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a 1. And so that will just make your roll score 0. So it'll alert you when that happens. And then the bong noise will also play when you roll 2 2s and 2 1s, because that will make your entire total score 0.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin, and the task that I took on is taking the value that is in the turn score field and using the buttons, stash it in the total score table. For example, if this was player 1's first turn score and they decided to stash it, it would save into their player 1 total score. Likewise, if this was player 2's first turn, they hit their button, and it saves into player 2. I also had to make it so that for each turn, it doesn't replace their total score with their new turn score, but instead it adds on. For example, if 10 was player 1's next turn score, it doesn't replace the 40, but it adds on to it. So we have 50. I also had to make it so that if they roll 2 1s or 2 2s, it wipes their entire score when they stash, as you can see here. So if that was player 2's turn and they stash, it wipes player 2's score to 0. To do this, we look up in properties, we created a table counter, a table score 1 counter, and a table score 2 counter, which come into play down here at the player 1 stash button pushed and the player 2 stash button pushed. As you can see, using an if-else statement, we brought our counters that we created up in properties into play. And then, as you can see here with the else part of it, we're taking whatever is in the table already and adding this variable we created, new score, which is what is in the turn score edit field, to it. And then we did the same exact thing for player 2, but used our table score 2 rather than table score 1. So that is how we got the total score table to be cumulative and wipe the player's score to 0 when they rolled the double 1s or double 2s.
And here's some gameplay in 2 times speed for time's sake. We have the instructions toggling on and off, player 1 rolling their pigs and stashing their score, player 2 doing the same, player 1 rolling multiple times and the turn score, adding those up and adding it to the total score, player 2 also rolling multiple times, player 1 rolling 2 1s, which wipes their total score entirely,
Stash. Stash. Stash.
player 1's score goes to 0 once again,
Stash.
Player 1 trying to get back in the game and rolling many times, getting to 100,
Stash.
stashing it, and player 1 wins.